this urge of comparison is deeply rooted in each one of us. So I would like to know how to deal with it and what are the consequences of urge of comparisons in a self-esteem and a self-growth.
Everyone wants to be better than the other, and therefore comparison. We start with तेरे पास कितना है, अच्छा तेरे पास इतना है, मेरे पास इतना है, या तेरे पास इतना है, then I am wanting to at least touch that as a benchmark. So this comparison is only to be one up on the other. It has got nothing to do with your need. Your needs are well below whatever benchmarks you have set, whether it is food, whether it is clothes, whether it is size of house, whether it is your vehicle. Your needs are met. But when you see somebody else having more than you, then you feel inadequate. Then you feel कि मेरे पास कम है. And then you want at least that much, if not more. So the genesis of comparison is basically to show your superiority.
So the urge of comparison is, we have seen it not only in elders, it starts from when you're a kid, it's there in a kid and it's there in a 8-year-old person also. You see, not regarding monetary wise, but
it doesn't start with kids, it starts with adults.
Okay.
Kids are a replica of what the adults are. Kids see adults comparing and then they start comparing. Kids hear adults comparing and then they start comparing. I don't know whether you have experienced this. The older generation, I'm talking of the 60s. The older generation of the 60s. That means a generation above my parents. They had a rule. When adults talk, children should not be there. So children were told, जाओ बाहर जाके खेलो, because adults had to discuss certain things. Whatever adults are discussing, the children should not be witness to it.
Okay.
That was rule number 1. Rule number 2, children were not allowed to talk when adults are speaking. We were clearly told, बड़ों के बीच में बात नहीं करते. Now, when I look back, there is a big logic in it because adults are not perfect. Adults also make mistakes in discussions, behavior, which is observed by the child. For the child, his immediate idol is the mother and father. Now, when they see the mother and father behaving in a particular manner, it is a certificate, endorsement that what they are doing is right. So then they cultivate the same traits which the mother and father have. Education by observation. Then the child develops into, if the parents are comparing, अरे पड़ोस वाले ने नई गाड़ी ली है. Mother is talking to the father and the child is listening. पड़ोस वालों ने नई गाड़ी ली है. पता है उसकी कीमत कितनी है? And then that कीमत comes into the picture, the child is listening. So this is a tacit education to the child to start comparing. Then he goes to school. He has his colleagues. अरे उसके कंपास बॉक्स में 2 पेंसिल थी, मेरे में 1 ही है. It didn't start with the child, it started with the parent, to which the child was a witness, and now he takes it down or scales it down to his level. कंपास बॉक्स में कितनी पेंसिल है? उसमें 2 पेंसिल थी, मेरे में 1 ही है. उसका रबर बड़ा था, मेरा छोटा है. So all these comparisons start because the children are watching how the parents are behaving.
Even at the age of 4 years?
Oh yes, that is the sharpest age. From 0 to 6, the absorbing power of a baby is highest. It's like a dry sponge. If you put dry sponge on water, it will soak up maximum quantity of water. After it has soaked water, now you put that wet sponge in another puddle of water, the amount of water absorbed is lesser. Up to the age of 6, the human brain is empty.
Okay.
And it keeps absorbing because you have these 5 gateways. You have the sight, you have the ears, you have the nose, you have the tongue, and you have the touch. These 5 gateways are giving you a lot of inputs. There is no barrier to say that this input is acceptable and this input is not acceptable. So whatever the child sees from whoever he sees is an input which is acceptable. So if he's dealing with the maid servant, if he's dealing with the neighbor's child, if he's dealing with the TV program, the cartoons, all that is information which is readily accepted. At that level in a baby, the reasoning, logic, judgment has not yet developed. So any input is an acceptable input. So this we have encouraged. We have encouraged competition. आप देखो कि today the children are burdened with so much of academic pressures.
Very true.
कि वो मैथ्स के क्लास में जाता है तू भी जा, उधर क्लास में जाता है इसलिए उसको अच्छा मार्क, तू भी उधर ही जा. वो ये करता है, डांस भी करता है, तू भी डांस में जा. अच्छा वो आर्ट क्लास में भी जाता है, तू भी आर्ट क्लास में जा. So this spirit of competition has become unhealthy. Nobody is judging whether my child has certain skill sets which do not fit in going for an arithmetic class. He has a skill set of Kathakali dance. उसको arithmetic class में भेज के क्या करोगे? Just because your neighbor's son is going there. So you have inculcated this competitiveness which is unhealthy.
And unknowingly it has been.
No, it is being knowingly done. How can you say it is unknowingly? Adults are having the capability of reasoning and logic. My child is not a guy who will become a bodybuilder. आप उसको 2-2 घंटा जिम में भेजते हो. He is very good at calculations. उसको मैथमेटिक्स का बुक्स ला के दो, उसको मैथमेटिक्स के प्रॉब्लम्स दो, cultivate his strengths. You are sending him into some area where he is not inclined to excel. Oh, your father was a great table tennis player. जाओ टेबल टेनिस खेलो. नहीं है इंटरेस्ट मुझे. So parents try to fulfill their unfulfilled dreams through their children. And on top of that, when the child doesn't do well, वो देख कैसे कर रहा है, तेरे को नहीं होता है. वो देख कैसे योगा क्लासेस जाता है, तू सुबह उठता नहीं, भैंस की तरह सोया रहता है 11 बजे तक. अभी मुझे पता नहीं ये बाप या माँ किस भैंस को देखने गए 11 बजे तक सोती है, लेकिन ऐसी कंपैरिजन होते हैं.
Correct. Yes, I mean we also do that with our children. We tell them.
So we are cultivating children in this extreme competitive world to become unhealthy. जो चीज है वो ढंग से करो. I'll just digress a little bit and share something with you. I had the opportunity of setting up a factory in Africa. And we had a Swedish team who came to help us set up the machinery which was purchased in Europe. There was this welder who used to do extremely fine welding of stainless steel. And I used to get thrilled just watching him weld because he would move the welding rod of stainless steel the way we would move toothpaste on a toothbrush, as smoothly as that. And it used to intrigue me. So I asked him, when did you learn welding and where did you learn welding? He said, I learned it in Sweden. And since when? So he says, for last 14 years. And I was shocked because that guy was hardly 22 years old. He says, for last 14 years I have been welding. So I asked him, did you start at the age of 8? I thought he was bluffing. So I looked at him quizzically and said, did you start at the age of 8? He said, yes. So I said, what schooling did? Oh, I went to a technical school. So what kind of certificate do you have? I have a technical certificate. What degree do you have? I don't have any degree. I am a certified welder. And for 14 years, I was taught different kinds of welding in different metals. Then it struck me, no wonder this guy at the age of 22 is such a skillful welder. And I know what kind of skill he has acquired because I thought it is very easy to weld because the way he was doing it as if he is putting toothpaste on toothbrush. So I said, let me try. And when I tried, my hand was thrown off.
Okay.
So it's not such a simple thing to weld, but then 14 years of welding from the age of 8 to the age of 22. His skill set was identified by his parents, encouraged, given the education, and he becomes an expert who travels worldwide welding different machines in different pharmaceutical industries. This we don't do. We want our child to be like the neighbor's child. We want our child to be like his uncle or like somebody across the street. But we have never identified what is the core strength of our children. We go by trends. अभी ट्रेंड क्या चल रहा है? अभी सब लोग डॉक्टर बन रहे हैं, तू भी डॉक्टर बन। अभी क्या ट्रेंड चल रहा है? एवरीबॉडी इज बिकमिंग अ क्रिकेटर। आईपीएल करोड़पति बनता है, तू भी क्रिकेट खेल। नहीं है इंटरेस्ट बाबा मुझे क्रिकेट खेलने में। वी डोंट पे अटेंशन। एंड एवरी टाइम इट इज वो देख कैसे कर रहा है, उसको आता है तो तेरे को क्यों नहीं आता है?
उसकी कमीज में से सफेद कैसे? ना,
then the child starts developing this kind. Then the jealousy, he is succeeding, I am not succeeding. फिर भला तेरी कमीज मेरे कमीज से सफेद कैसे? Then the next factor comes.
So how these youngsters can navigate and is there any?
I'll give you another analogy. A block of clay, I have molded it into a murti. Let's say I have created a murti of a dancer. Yeah. Now you come and tell me, अब इस मूर्ति को गणपति का मूर्ति बनाओ। सेट हो गई है। वो क्ले को मुझे पूरा तोड़ना पड़ेगा, उसको पानी में भिगोना पड़ेगा, वो सॉफ्ट हो गया, मोल्डेबल हो गया, then I can probably mold it into another shape. Once a murti is cast and hardened, it is better to take a new soft clay and make a new Ganpati instead of breaking this murti and converting it into Ganpati. So what you are saying is a difficult task.
To navigate through.
It's not going to happen that you are going to not only break the person who has formed into a particular caste, shape, you're going to damage him psychologically. He's going to cultivate the feeling that I am considered good for nothing. And therefore my people want to change me. My teachers want to change me. My parents want to change me. Society wants to change me. And then the guy ends up doing nothing. मेरे से कुछ नहीं होता।
So you yourself want to get out of this.
So how to navigate? You navigate at the time of birth. Tell all new mothers and fathers to deal with the child extremely carefully. Educate the new parents. I would recommend to have coaching classes of at least 1 year's duration for new parents of how to deal with children, because it is an art. Cultivating a child is an art, and art doesn't happen automatically. It has to be taught. That teaching is a science. The practice is the art. So teach the science of cultivating your child and let the parents practice the art.